Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Matt. This is Prime Analog Records, and what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you my record store day finds and what I got. And I had a few mishaps, missteps, and I missed out on some stuff that I'm going to actually have to get after on Monday. But anyway, what I want to do is also show you my lasagna recipe. Now I know there's a lot of lasagna recipes out here on YouTube. Mine I think is unique and it's amazing and it's very simple to do, and I'm going to show you really quick how to do it. Now some of the stuff I've pre-done ahead of time, like cutting up these onions. They're red onions, and it's just you don't need to see me do that. And also this is my chopped garlic. Always use fresh stuff. Don't use dehydrated stuff or stuff that's already been, like in the jars, little jar things that are, what do you call it, the garlic that comes in those, because they've already been cooked and a lot of the flavor is gone from them. So the strength of it. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you also, when I'm doing this, I'm going to show you the sauce that I use, the way I make my marinara sauce. And this can go on anything. You can use it on pizza, on pasta, on anything. But what we're going to do is today I'm going to show you exactly how I do it and make it as simple as possible for you guys, because you guys will be able to do this for your girls and it'll blow their minds how good it comes out. Okay, cut. Okay, so the first album that I got, I flipped when I saw it because there are very few they made. I think it was like 1,500. And it's this Todd Rundgren album. And I've already spun it. It sounds amazing. It's really cool. It's a really cool cover because it's got all these die cuts that are going on in there. And I don't know if you can see that, but it's die cut through here and here. And the moment you feel it, it feels very strange and different. It also comes with a poster inside. And it's the 50th anniversary of Todd Rundgren's acclaimed groundbreaking album in red and blue cosmic vinyl. And I don't know if you guys know so much about Todd Rundgren, but Todd Rundgren was a very big psychedelic kind of guy. He was like a predecessor to David Bowie, or they were probably around the same time, but they're pretty wacky in a lot of the stuff they do. And I always thought that was really interesting. But this is probably one of the most beautiful albums I have seen, and that's in my collection. Look at that. Look at the wax. How beautiful that is. That's pretty amazing. All right, so we're going to delve right into the lasagna, and I'm going to put that back in there real quick. And the first thing we want to do is we want to get these burners going. I've got the burner here, and I'll put it down here at about 4, and put real ingredients. What we're doing today is I'm using really real ingredients. I mean, I spent a lot of time in Italy. I spent 13 years traveling back and forth into Italy for my job as a fashion photographer. So I can tell totally different things about what we have here in this country and what we have there. And this is Italian, and I mean, this comes from Italy. And it's totally different than what you get in the store. You get blended in the store, which is not the same. The way you can tell is if you put your bottle into the refrigerator overnight and wake up and look at it and see if it's cloudy or if it just looks like it's normal. And if it's cloudy, then you've got real olive oil there. All right, so I just put a good amount in here. And what we're going to do is we're going to sweat down these onions. Let me grab the onions. We're going to wait for a second with the this is half of an onion, half of a large onion. And I'm going to go from there. I'm going to put the garlic over here, but we're not going to put that in yet because we got to get this going. You want to move the onions around, but you don't want to move them so much that they don't have a chance to actually caramelize. One of the main things you want to do there.
Recording.
All right, so we're going with here's can number 2, and I want you to take a look at the way this looks, because it's the whole tomatoes. There's a little bit of pulp on the top here, but these are whole tomatoes. They're whole vine ripened Roma tomatoes. And what we're doing is we're really not going to do what everybody's heard about with these, you know, these long arduous sessions where it takes hours and hours to cook and stuff like that. It doesn't take that. It's not that way in Italian cooking. In Italian cooking, they use all the burners and they're on wide open. Stuff is spattering everywhere. So, but what we're doing basically with this is we don't want to cook all the moisture out of this. We want this to actually be full of moisture. So once I get all this stuff incorporated here, I'm not gonna sit here and reduce this at all, because I'm gonna explain that process to you in a second as soon as I get my immersion blender out. All right, this is an immersion blender, and I call it a boat motor. But you got to be real careful not to get down here to the end. But what we're going to do is we're going to find all the tomatoes. I've already turned off the heat, so it's just sitting on a burner that's a little bit warm. But what you want to do is you want to find where the tomatoes are and bump this a little bit back and forth, just like I'm doing here. You don't want to puree this sauce. When you puree it, what happens is that you don't have what I call these little surprises when you're eating. When you're eating the lasagna, you get these little bursts of yummy tomato. It's just, I mean, it's so good. So it's your preference. If you want to totally puree it, that's one thing. But I'm not big on pureeing the sauce. I like to have, you know, bits, chunks here and there, stuff like this. One of the things about this is I remember us talking before about natural, you know, ingredients and getting the very best stuff. This is fresh oregano here, and I'm doing a real loose cut or chop on it. It's not super important because it's not super important to dice it and make it super fine, because this is going to go right into the tomatoes right here, and then we're going to push it down again with the immersion blender. I usually use fresh basil, but I couldn't find any at the grocery store, so I got this instead, and this is basil paste. I added a little bit of Cento tomato paste also. This is from Italy. It's the same company that made the tomatoes. So I put a little squirt in here of this. And now we're going to go back and do the immersion blender again. And it helps to incorporate all the ingredients and still keeps this fine. Now here's a one of the biggest differences in my preparation is that in my way you don't parboil these noodles. Everybody gets these things and they parboil them, which is the wrong thing to do. The reason why is, in my experience, what happens is when you do that, it makes mushy noodles. And what you want to have is al dente. And the only way to do that is to make a very wet sauce like this is, and that's why you don't reduce it, because it's going to reduce while it's cooking, and it's going to be reducing through absorption of the water that's in the sauce into the noodles, and it's just the perfect amount every single time, and it comes out and it'll stand. You can cut it in a square and it'll stand up fine. It doesn't. Most people, they cut their lasagna and it just kind of mushes off to the side, and it doesn't with this. It thickens the sauce, and it also hydrates the noodles, so you don't need to parboil them. All right. So seeing, I don't know, that's not very hot. That's perfect, so we can actually get one. All right, another thing that makes my lasagna unique is that I don't use ground beef. Ground beef is tasteless, and you have to add a lot of stuff to make it taste good. What I use is mild Italian sausage. And if you can use the links and open it up, or if your butcher has it like this, you can get the bulk of it. I put 2 pounds and I don't salt it at all. I put it in just like this. And what you want to do is you want to definitely break it up before it browns, because it makes it a lot easier to deal with. So you'll see me do that in a second. It's going to add some time. I was really lucky to get this Bill Evans. These things were going like hotcakes, and I got the very last one at my store. It's called Bill Evans Treasures, and it's a three album set. It's really amazing. I've listened to a little bit of it. It's on black vinyl, and it's just his typical beautiful piano. That was a real find. But here's one of the problems I've got going on with this record store today. They keep coming up with these crazy packaging things that they won't work in your regular sleeves. Look how thick that is. Look how thick that is.
You just hold it out there and have to focus on it. Flip it upside down. Or flip it the other way so you can see it. Hit the spine, flip it this way.
Oh, you want to be able to read it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold right there. Go back out.
And it's just, it's a beautiful record. But what I was saying, where they're having problems, I think they're coming up with this unique packaging because they're doing, like this is across 3 records, that they make these things thick like this, and you can't find sleeves for them, which is kind of troubling for me. I've got it in a sleeve because I did some creative work on it, but I'll tell you about that later. All right, another one that I got is this Billy Joel. It was back in 1975. Now, some of you guys aren't big Billy Joel fans, but I am, and especially his early stuff. When I saw this, of course, I had to have it. And it's just a beautiful record. It's a historic, Billy's historic 1975 San Francisco concert recording. And it's amazing. The only problem is when I put the friggin' thing on, there's skips out the ass. And there are bad skips. I mean, this is like deep gouges. And I mean, I use very high-end equipment. I had to take it off after the first 30 skips and bangs, and it's just unbelievable. I mean, it's just, so I figured the second side had to be better. Well, I was wrong, because the second disc is, on the first disc, both sides are absolutely abysmal. So, because I love the music, but it's unplayable in this way, so I'm gonna have to take it back, which really aggravates me. And I want you to tell me in the comments, if you had the same problem, you're having the same issue, because there's still, you can see there's no damage at all to the record sleeve. It's perfect in the shrink. It's never been messed with, so it had to happen at the factory. So I'm very disappointed in that. By the way, you really don't need the whole 2 pounds of the Italian sausage, but I tend to get into it a little bit, because after making it, I don't want to have to wait another hour and a half to actually eat some sausage. So you can do what you want, but I mean, it really takes about 1.5 pounds is what you're really going to use. So you can basically eat half a pound. All right, so we've got the sausage all browned, and what we're going to do is put it in a ramekin. And what happens by this is that gravity will be your friend, because it'll pull all the all the fat off of it, and it'll drop to the bottom, because we're going to actually pick this from the top. Now, one of the things a lot of people ask me is, why don't you just marry the sausage with the sauce? And I'm going to show you why you don't want to do that. And why you really don't want to do that is because you can put the amount of meat that you want on your sauce, on your lasagna, the way you lay it out. But what I'm doing now is I'm just breaking up any bigger pieces, because it makes it easier for it to go on there, although it'll crumble anyway. So you'll see that in a second when I start to assemble. Now, one of the things you should do while you're browning your meat is you should do your ricotta mix. And a lot of people have trouble with this too. And one of the quickest, easiest ways to get this to actually drop, see, this is brand new, so there's nothing, but it sticks in here and it won't come out. And what you have to do, you peel that top off, and you go like this, and nothing happens. So what you do is you put it in a bowl, and you stick it in the bottom like this, and that adds enough, it releases just like that. Was that great or what? So that's the way that is. Okay, so what we do is we break it up, and I really hate that gelatinous stuff. It's kind of dirty and gross for me. But anyway, it's going to be beautiful in a second. Okay, so generally, I break the eggs in a bowl by themselves because I want them to fully mix. So let me see if I can find me a bowl real quick. And I need a fork. Oop. And I beat the eggs really good. One of the things that's unique about Italian food is that you don't see them adding a whole lot of salt, because most of their salt that they get into a dish is through the cheese that they add. And the cheese is got a good amount of salt in it. All right, so I've got the eggs done, and I put those 2 beaten eggs into the ricotta, and that'll help firm it all up. And now what we have to do is we're going to put Parmigiano Reggiano, and I did this just so we didn't have to wait through it, but this is all off of a big block that I have, and that's Italian too. If it doesn't look like that on the end, the rind, you don't have Parmigiano Reggiano. What you have is you have store-bought junk. And but this is the king of cheeses, and it's just a thing of beauty. It's incredible, and I mean, you can eat it. You can put it on almost everything. The only thing that Italians hate to see, and that's why I say that Olive Garden is far from Italian food, but they never put cheese, especially Parmigiano Reggiano, on any kind of fish or seafood. It's just a known fact. They don't do it. Right, so we're going to mix all this up and get this all homogenated together. And this will form one of the main layers in between 2 of the meat layers.
Turn it sideways a little to me.
You'll know when you've got it. You'll know when you've got it all together, because you won't see any yellow from the egg yolk. It's all together like this. But that Parmigiano Reggiano we're going to put that on the top as well as mozzarella. But I'll grate that fresh on top. But that's where we're at right here. This is going to be one of our actually our center level on when we assemble everything. Okay, so that's next.
3, 2, 1.
One of the things you always want to remember to do is to taste your sauce, and take a big bunch like that. You can find out a lot, and you need to put some salt in there for sure. It's very sweet, when you use these tomatoes. And like I was saying before, most Italians, they don't put a whole lot of salt in things. That's just not what they do. So back, we incorporate this back, distribute that salt. Okay, and now it's time to assemble. What we're going to do is we're going to put a ladle or two on the bottom here. Now, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I'm using a big, gigantic turkey. These are usually used for turkey, but when I make lasagna, I want to make it for a bunch of people, and it's a very communal kind of dish. So you want to make sure you have plenty for everybody, and by doing that, by having a big bunch like this, it makes it much easier to share it. It's pretty. That's why we did so much sauce. Okay, so first thing we do is we're going to put down. After we did that, we're going to put down our noodles. And the way I do it is a length, like long, like this, like this. It doesn't matter if they overlap, which they will. They'll get to places that they'll overlap. Right, this and this. The main thing is like one of the things that makes this work is that wet sauce. This sauce is not thick at all. And you can see how wet that is. And we're going to put more sauce on top right here through this. And see all those big chunks that are in that, because we didn't do the immersion blender to puree. So it's going to be super yummy like that when you hit those, when you're eating it. But you want that wetness in there because that's what's going to cook the noodles. Okay, now we put sausage in. And this is where I was saying before, when we make the sausage like this, we can make it as meaty as we want. And what we're going to do is and all the fat will drain to the bottom of this, at the bottom of this pan. So we're going to do a meat layer here. And it's pretty simple. It's pretty. You just spread it all out, and just recognize that you're going to make one more meat layer, so you can actually make it as much as you want at certain places. But I try to cover everything around the pan, try to cover the whole surface, and this is going to be my second meat layer right here. So what we do now is we put down our lasagna noodles. Too long again. This long. And actually, you dads out there could get your daughters and have them go through this with you, and it's a lot more fun. I used to do this with my daughter all the time. All right, so now we've got that base layer, and now we're going to go put ricotta down, and that's this. That's this mixture here, the ricotta and the Parmesan and the eggs, the egg mixture. All of this will stiffen up and hold it all together. It's like the glue that holds the middle layer of your lasagna. And you just want to spread it out very evenly again. You don't want it really thick in one place and thin in another. But I've found that that whole big thing of ricotta is basically everything you want. Some people put, at this point they put parsley or basil or whatever. You can do whatever you want. I mean, I'm just showing you the base of how I do it, and how I like it. And everybody who's had it really likes it this way. So, like I said, we're going to spread that out nice and even. Okay, and there's that. Okay, that goes there. Okay, here we go with another layer. I'm going to have to open another box. Put a whole nother layer down. In this way, it usually takes about a box and a half of the noodles to get everything the way you want it. And this goes across here like this, and this. Okay, there's that. Okay, now, guess what? Another layer. Put down another layer of the red sauce. I'm going to try to get it as much as you can, even when you have looks like there's some crevices down here that are deeper, and between where you've put the noodles, and that needs to be filled, because remember, the moisture that's coming out of the sauce is going to make the noodles right. Okay, so here we go with another layer of sausage. All right, so on one thing I didn't say is that on the meat, when we put down the meat on the sauce, and what we do, we put a layer of mozzarella down. I know you didn't see me do that on the other one, on the other meat layer, but it was done through the through the skill of my wonderful cooking prowess. So we want to make sure that's very, very distributed here. We got some more over here. This is like the perfect glue to the end of your lasagna. One thing while I'm thinking about it, make sure that when you pick this up, make sure you have to have something underneath, because you can't pick it up from the sides. The whole thing will crumble, and then you'll be in trouble, especially when you're pulling it out of the oven. So you have to support the bottom. All right, so we've got that done. What I always do is I take my Parmigiano Reggiano and I grate that over the top. My microplane. Try to be pretty even with it. You don't have to put too much on, but after all, it is the king of cheeses, so you certainly want to have it in there. All right, that's it. Now, what we do, let me wash my hands real quick. What we want to do is we want to cover it up real tight. And the best way I've ever found so far is to use very wide foil like this. This is, what is it? I can't tell, but it's the it's the widest of the foils out there. I use it for barbecue, and I also use it here because you can actually get it all the way end to end And there's no seams at all. And that's of the utmost importance because you don't want any of the moisture to escape. The moisture is going to go into the noodles. All right. But you want to be able to put your hand underneath like this to take care of the middle, because this thing's about 15 pounds. And you slide it in, close it up, and you should have preheated the oven. I didn't tell you that. You should preheat the oven to 375 and then put it in for an hour. Okay, what you want to do at this point, with the magic of television, we've got the finished one right here. And what you want to do is you want to let it cool for a while. And I would let it cool probably 30 minutes or so. But that's what it looks like when you're done. We're lucky. All right, so it's rested for, let's say, probably 20 minutes. So let me go ahead and cut it. I'll show you what it looks like when it comes out. See how it stands up? It doesn't slide again away from each other.
Get put back down the ground and then pick it up.
On the ground?
So we keep it there and say, like, see how it doesn't. Say, when you just repeat what you just said right now.
Okay, you see how it holds its shape and it doesn't shmooey down? It's because of that the noodles are perfectly al dente, and actually on the ends are a little chewier, and which I absolutely love like this. But I think my cameraman's gonna enjoy the rest of it. All right, so let me show you one more record that I got the other day at Record Store Day, and I really love it. I kicked around getting another live album, but this is very unique. And you guys, there's a lot of you who've got it already, but it's great. It's a great album. This is a 1993 concert, and it's Van Hagar, and it's the packaging's beautifully done. It's 4 albums, and it's beautiful. I listened to it, and it's really funny because the very first song, Pound Cake, was a little wonky because it sounds like the board was clipping. It doesn't sound really good, but once it gets past that, it really starts to mellow out, and it's really great. I mean, it's like I didn't even turn it up through Pound Cake, and all of a sudden when it started to sound really good, I turned it up and I listened to the whole thing last night. It's beautiful red vinyl. I've got 2 criticisms about it. See, there's the red vinyl. And one of the main things that I have to criticize about this is that once again we have this weird packaging that is impossible to put a sleeve on it. I mean, look at the thickness of this. It's really thick. I mean, it's super thick. And I do love that it's like this, and I love the way it's set up, but I always like to put sleeves and everything on all my records, especially like this. But I'm gonna have to dig around. I don't know if there's anything out there for that. Let me know in the comments if you know of anything that'll work. But none of the sleeves that I have will work. So anyway, that's all I've got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a little bit different than what we usually do on the VC, but try that recipe, and if you got kids, get them involved in cooking. It's a really great way of bonding. Okay? We'll see you later. All my best.